Good afternoon or good evening, I don't know. I am pleased to be here today with you and to share this very exciting panel about the future of green hydrogen transportation. For this, I am glad to have with me in the panel the following experts. Mr. Paul Lucchese, Chairman of the Hydrogen Technology Collaboration Program at the International Energy Agency. Madame Sarah Edmondson, she's not here today, but I think we will connect with her on remote. Let's see if we are lucky today. She is the Regional Head of Markets and Strategic Partnership at Fortescue Future Industries. Mr. Thierry Lepercq, CEO of Ideal, and Mr. Tariq Berrer, Business Development and Sales Manager at Technip Energy. So before our panelists start to share with us their valuable insight, experience, and ideas, let me please start with a short introduction. This panel intends to present different transportation options and corridors, and to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each alternative. Green hydrogen is to be transported efficiently, greenly, from the point of production to the point of use, which unfortunately are far from each other. The development of solutions that are reliable, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly is key. Knowing that none of those solutions has clear advantages over its rivals. All options still need to be proven on a large scale and have different needs in terms of technological maturity, operational performance, efficiency, and cost. The cryogenic transport by ships has the advantage to provide a global access, allowing diverse hydrogen sourcing worldwide. But technical challenges are to be cleared with the added complexity of managing extreme transport temperature. Indeed, liquid hydrogen requires a temperature as low as -253 degrees C, which is a very little 20 degrees above the absolute zero. This temperature of -253 degrees is to be compared with the -161 degrees of the LNG. These demand advanced insulations and cooling systems and resisting materials. The economic viability when choosing a transport option is another concern. The above technologies issues and the fact that the energy density of liquefied hydrogen is 2 to 3 times lower than liquefied natural gas. This brings doubts about the viability of this solution. Other option is the hydrogen transport through ammonia. This option offers better advantages. It is much easier as it is transported at a much higher temperature of approximately -30 degrees C. This simplifies logistics, as we can then rely on simplified vessel design, and these reduce manufacturing and operational expenses. However, it is important to note that ammonia's energy-to-cost ratio remains relatively low, which impacts its overall cost effectiveness as an hydrogen carrier. In the other hand, finally, it is at the bottom part, just behind you, the transport can be done by pipeline, and this solution presents cost-efficient options, a cost-efficient option. The hydrogen can be transported either pure or blended with natural gas, and you have seen that in the previous panel. It has been clearly explained. This last, and the use of existing natural gas infrastructures can help expediting the development of hydrogen transportation network. But the installation of new dedicated pipeline for hydrogen will be a lengthy and costly process, potentially spanning up 2 decades. Okay. Initiatives are emerging to speed up the process of installing new network of hydrogen. Among them, the European Hydrogen Backbone Initiative. Through this initiative, the European Commission is considering an import strategy aiming to fulfill 50% of its needs by 2030, mainly from Norway and from North Africa. This initiative opens a significant opportunity for Morocco, but also for West Africa. Oh, sorry, that's good. The strategic Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline project and the existing Maghreb-Europe gas pipeline, the GME, the one in red at the top, which is already connected to Europe, will open a new route to Europe for importing hydrogen from Africa. Morocco is anticipating this by designing the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline as an hydrogen-ready pipeline and by securing its right-of-way corridor large enough for installing green hydrogen dedicated pipeline in case we keep the use of the NMGP for methane transportation only. The anticipation can also be seen in the studies developed by ONIM with partners for confirming the possibility to convert the 25-year-old GME. The integration of the future Moroccan hydrogen transportation network with the European infrastructure has the potential to make a significant contribution to the decarbonization of Europe's energy system. With the right planning and cooperation, West Africa and Europe can work together to create a clean, sustainable, and prosperous future for both regions. Now, let me introduce our panelists and let them present us their idea about this subject. I am pleased to give the floor to our first expert in the panel, Mr. Paul Lucchese, who holds the position of Chair Hydrogen TCP at the International Energy Agency. He is also working with the CEA, the CEA, the French Research Institute on Nuclear and Alternative Energies. Mr. Lucchese.
Thank you very much. So my presentation will focus on the multilateral collaboration, because after my presentation, you will have a very good example of industrial companies investing in hydrogen infrastructure production, etc. But before, I want to underline why we need this international collaboration to support the business of international trade. Maybe it doesn't work. Okay, no, it's before, sorry. Before, okay. It works. I want to go back once again. Okay, so first thing, why we need international collaboration. If we want to reach at the world level net zero by 2050, you know, we need to combine electrification, renewable deployment, energy efficiency improvement, CCS, nuclear energy, etc. So it's a technical solution. We need to combine all together according to the IEA report, but also we need two other things, not technical. We need to develop research on innovation, because a lot of technology we need by 2050 are not ready today. So we need more and more research on innovation first. On the second point, not technical, we need also international collaboration, because if we don't have this large international collaboration, we never reach the net zero, and there is some quantification by IEA, we lost 40 years. Because you have a lot of countries in the world we have to be all together, not only the most richest 50 countries. So we need a strong collaboration between all countries for technology transfer, for a lot of things. And it's the reason why we need this type of international collaboration. You see all the reason. Accelerate research innovation, develop international standards, very important. Harmonize regulatory framework in the frame of UNO Sustainable Development Goals. Coordinate scale-up, share knowledge, and facilitate technology transfer, decrease cost for developed countries, and for less developed countries, technical and financial support. And finally, develop capacity building, education, and training. It's these reasons are available for all technologies, of course, for hydrogen too. So just, okay. I don't want to explain this late, just to mention 10 days ago, you can read this very interesting report from Breakthrough Agenda with IEA and ARENA about accelerating sector transition from stronger international collaboration. Okay, so it's a very interesting report on international collaboration. So now let's focus on hydrogen. This slide seems very complex because the reality is complex, and I am not very pleased with this slide because since the last 3 years, a lot of international organizations appear on hydrogen coordination. You can see maybe 20 major global international initiatives are focused on clean hydrogen. Of course, it's too much because it gives a lot of complexity. There is 2 organizations, the oldest one, this one I represent because my organization was created in 1977, 45 years on hydrogen. And the second one, IPHE, was created in Washington in 2003. So we celebrate the 20 years anniversary. But all the other ones were created in the last 3 years. So it's rather a mess, I agree. And to simplify a little, at least we focus, sorry, I have some difficulties for the, okay. We focus with what we call the Breakthrough Agenda, which is a UK and US leaded secretary. We focus on 4 priorities. The first one I will detail just after, is very important, is accelerate the development of standard for clean hydrogen, especially certification scheme. I will explain later. And it's led by IPHE with the support of IEA TCP. Second one is to coordinate internationally the derived demand for clean hydrogen. You can see the organization. The third one is about the number of and scope of innovative clean hydrogen. Is the idea, you know, in Europe we have the Hydrogen Valley model, and we try to expand this model in all the region. And the last one is more focused on finance. It's led by the World Bank, and to scale and facilitate access to the finance. So now I will explain first my organization very quickly. Sorry. Okay, so my organization created in 1977 on hydrogen is the first international platform on collaboration. Now we have 26 countries, and Morocco, I am very pleased to say that Morocco joined this organization at the beginning of this year. So Morocco is participating to the work of this organization. And we have also 7 or 8 sponsor companies, including Hydrogen Council, Indian company, Argentinian company. So in total, 33 members. And what we are doing in this organization, in a nutshell, I want one slide to explain you. We are working through working group. And you can see the topic of the working group. It's a working group has a duration of 3 years. So it's open to all the experts of the member. That means that if any, for example, from Morocco expert, if you are interested to join, I don't know, natural hydrogen, safety, renewable production, etc., we have a contact point from IRESEN, and you have to contact your national representative and to say, I am interested to join. There is no funding, but there is no cost. So you can see very diverse is a bottom-up approach. We have very technical tasks on underground storage, technical task on Power2X also, but it's finished now. Energy storage, etc., but also cross-cutting tasks like safety, like offshore production. We have a new task on natural hydrogen because natural hydrogen seems a very promising topic. H2 for maritime applications, etc. Okay, so I want now to focus on two things. The task 47, because we give a number to the task, on certification. This task was launched 2 or 3 months ago, so it's a very new task. And if I succeed, and you can see that the idea with the I mentioned we are working with IPHE because IPHE will deliver the message to the policymaker, but we are working at the technical level. You can see that, for example, we have a subtask, etc. We are working on the mutual recognition framework because there is a lot of number of certification scheme in the world. At the end, we will have never one system for the world. We never had one unique system. We will have different systems, but we hope to find a way to make them coherent between them. Okay, so it's the reason why we have to propose a platform for mutual recognition framework. We are working on certification scheme platform, engagement. So you see that it's a new task. It's led by both Hydrogen Council and US and Japan. And it's a platform where public and private are discussing and exchanging to go further in this very important topic for international trade, because we need this to have a very coherent system at the world level. So it's just first example. On the second example, it will be my last slide. In Goa last July, there was the official launch of the International Hydrogen Trade Forum. It's a new forum between government, led and signed by the government of Netherlands and the Emirates. And the idea you can see here is to, of course, it's to try to simplify the business for companies on international trade. For example, of course, significance of non-discriminatory market conform with the World Trade Organization, coordination, etc. And one thing very important, of course, you can read because it's just at the bottom, it's very important to support UNO Sustainable Development Goals and to avoid negative effects for country is there only exporters. We spoke about this morning about that. We want to avoid that a country will be only exporter and not to develop industry and very high value product, not only to export hydrogen. So it will be a forum between exporter and importers. You can see the first members, and after that it's just the beginning. The first meeting will come in the next weeks. So it was just to give 2 examples of what could the international collaboration could bring to the international trade. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. You just told me before we start this meeting about the fact that you are in the sector of hydrogen for more than 20 years. So that means since 2004 or 5. What's the difference today? Do you think this is the correct momentum to develop this industry?
It's a very interesting question for some dinosaur like me. I think, of course, there is I knew waves on hydrogen, up and down. In the beginning of 2000, there was a huge momentum for hydrogen. It's the reason why we created IPHE. And what could be different now? First, there was a dramatic decrease of renewables. So when renewables is cheap, you can produce cheap hydrogen. It was not the case 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So first, the cost decreased. Second, we see, because 20 years ago, the people think that direct electrification was enough. And we see that we need hydrogen to decarbonize hard-to-abate sector. We need a molecule. So second reason to reach net zero. And third, we knew some crisis, COVID crisis, Ukraine war, you know, and for this reason, the government needs to have a relaunch plan, and hydrogen was ready to propose something, to create jobs, to accelerate the energy transition. So it was a perfect moment for all these reasons that now I think, but we never know, that the hydrogen momentum is very solid now.
Thank you very much. Especially when you consider that Europe wants to have some very interesting figures by 2030. So we have 7 years now to do what you planned, what you started to do some 20 years ago. Thank you very much. Next speaker of the agenda is Mr. Thierry Lepercq, CEO of Ideal. Please.
Well, whatever. Last week in Madrid, 1,000 people got together virtually at the invitation of Enagás. Enagás is the gas transmission company of Spain. And they announced that they will be building 3,000 kilometers of hydrogen pipelines, dedicated pipelines, no blending, pure pipelines by 2030 to move around 3.3 million tons of hydrogen around Spain and connecting to France. French president, the prime minister of Spain got together 9 months ago and announced the construction of the H2Med pipeline, which will connect Spain to Europe's industrial heartland. Europe's want 20 million tons of hydrogen. That was mentioned earlier today. That requires 1 trillion euros of investments in the next, to be decided in the next 36 months. Now you could say, people could, is this really happening? Is it possible? Well, Enagás is making it. And it all started 3.5 years ago, when I was standing with the CEO, then CEO of Enagás, Marcelino Oreja, in front of 300 people in Madrid. And we were, actually, he was presenting the Spanish translation of my book, Hydrogen is the New Oil. And by the way, for those who don't know me, I'm founder of Ideal. I'll tell you about Ideal, but previously I built SolarDirect, which built 3 gigawatts of solar in 20 countries, reaching the level of $20 per megawatt hour solar of electricity. And I'd like to make one point very simple. We're going solar. The world is going solar through hydrogen. So when we met with Enagás, the Enagás CEO, Marcelino said, I have a vision. I want to phase in, phase out. Phase in hydrogen and phase out natural gas. Now, what about a natural gas operating company saying it? Now, last week, they're making good on that promise. These pipelines are going to get being built. The way it's managed, it's collaborative. A project of that nature requires collaboration. Collaboration, this is an oil and gas style industry. It requires upstream, midstream, and downstream. This is what we did with Enagás 3 years ago. We brought in together 30 companies across the supply chain, from renewable energy generation and electrolyzers and engineering upstream. Transmission is fundamental. Transmission is pipelines. By the way, we've heard different ways of moving hydrogen. You'll be interested to know that it's 20 times cheaper to move hydrogen with a pipeline than it is to move with a ship. too bad for ships. No offense to our friends from Rotterdam. Rotterdam will not be fed by ships. It will be fed by pipelines coming all along the Rhone Valley to the Rhine Valley, and yes, providing that very cheap hydrogen that they require in Rotterdam. And obviously we brought off-takers. And that's the missing part of those many, many hydrogen conferences that where are the buyers? Who's going to buy their stuff? We want to produce, we all great to planning, developing, etc. Who's going to buy this thing? And what we did with HyDeal was to start, hey, you are the most important ones, the steel makers, the energy companies, the chemical companies. You're going to buy our product. Now we have a question for you. What is the price? Because all of this economy doesn't work if you don't have the right price. And now you have plenty of people in this industry all around the world who are saying, I'm doing something wonderful for the planet. I'm building the new energy champagne that is expensive, super expensive green hydrogen. And by the way, if you're the government, give me money. Well, that won't happen. And I can tell you, having worked for the last 2 years with those off-takers, some of them are a pain in the neck, but they're in the markets. They're telling us the truth. And they want 2.5 euros or 2 euros per kilogram hydrogen. And anybody that thinks that is going to have a business model without it cannot have it. Now, we at HyDeal, as a company, are just doing that right now in Spain. Oops. Yeah. And this is what I announced last week in Madrid as well. We're making good on this promise of producing 150,000 tons of hydrogen in Spain. That's the first step. We're moving to 1 million tons. 1 million tons in Spain. Why? Because we have already secured 4.5 gigawatts of solar projects here. We've already secured the agreements with EPC firms for the supply of 3.3 gigawatts of electrolyzers. And yes, we're going to build this thing. Not immediately. It does take some time to permit, but production is going to start in 2025. Excuse me, 2028. And now, what about Morocco? Morocco, you know, there was once a guy who said the station of Perpignan is the center of the world. Salvador Dali. I would say, well, now Morocco is the center of the world now. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Because the 20 million tons of hydrogen that Europe wants won't happen without Morocco. The 500,000 tons that Total Energies last week, it was mentioned earlier today, wants won't come from Spain. Now we're working on all these Spanish regions. It's going to be super tough to get to the 150,000 tons that we want to produce in Spain. Now, how about 20 million tons? Now, Morocco is not alone, and we're also working with the Mauritanian government. Actually, we signed in the Mauritanian government. What you see here, now obviously it's always complex when you put things on maps. I was discussing with my friend from the EIB who's saying, I was scared of showing maps in my presentation. I didn't show any maps. Well, you want to show maps because this is going to get built. Why? Because Europe wants it and Africa wants it. Take Mauritania. Mauritania signed for 80 gigawatts of projects, 15 times its GDP. I'm a bit sorry that the Mauritanian minister didn't mention that earlier today, but that's what they signed. Actually, personally, I'm spending my time in Nouakchott. And Mauritania will not exist without this pipeline. Nothing will be built. The 80 billion euros, 15 times the country's GDP, won't be built without this pipeline. Now, the good news is that the pipeline is not just about bringing that wonderful, super cheap hydrogen moving to Europe. And this is what we call the strings of pearls. And this is Morocco's best chance. Morocco's best chance is not only to produce hydrogen, to become the Saudi Arabia of hydrogen, because it will become that soon. But it's to become the Germany of hydrogen. And Germany means what? It means industry. A couple of weeks ago, I was discussing with Rivas Steel, who's based in Joffre-la-Salle. Joffre interesting place. Now imagine Jorf, not just Riva Steel consuming 100,000 tons, which they want, but people coming, investing in Jorf Lasfa or other Moroccan ports and bringing millions of jobs to this country in steel making, fertilizers, mobility, all these industries, capturing the huge, immense chance of having a massive amount of a zero carbon, fully sustainable fuel, competitive hydrogen. But then again, nothing exists, not this promise that could be made to Morocco and to Africa. This is what we showed with the EIB, the European Investment Bank, last year in Sharm el-Sheikh. We introduced a vision of Africa together with the International Soil Alliance, 120 countries, together with the African Union. We showed that, and this study is available on the website of the European Investment Bank. Yes, Africa has a potential of 50 million tons by 2035, and that out of that 50 million tons, it's on that study, the study is public. 25 million tons will come from Morocco and Mauritania. We have launched together with the Mauritanian government, with the European Commission, and hopefully soon with the representatives of Moroccans, the project of a study which connects Morocco. Now, obviously, it will look very much like your own pipeline. It's funny how pipelines look like each other. And pipelines connect. And most importantly, pipelines make it possible to do those things. I'm going to tell you, this thing is going to cost 15 billion euros. Now, who's going to pay for it? Banks. But banks will only do it because they have secured offtake. Sorry, it's a bit technical, but we need to talk about finance. And once we have this string and the pearls, now we have a complete economy. So the message here is very simple. Hydrogen is a system, upstream, midstream, downstream, just like oil. It's absolutely infrastructure dependent. Nothing exists without infrastructure. And Enagás is showing the way. Anybody that doubts, go to Madrid. Talk to my buddy, Jesus. He's a big fan of Morocco. I brought him to make presentations in Rabat 4 years ago. And so the big message here to Morocco, and I'm mentioning that to him, take that opportunity of designing, being centered in the design of that transmission infrastructure. Think about the hubs that you can build. Because it's not just, again, evacuation of that very cheap hydrogen. It's how you can leverage and transform the country. It's a major transformation of the whole country which is possible with that. And yes, you could call that industrial policy, and it requires involvement with the government, but it also requires involvement of industry and finance. And this is why I'm very happy that we're having this meeting today, because this is where government meets industry and finance. But we don't have much time left. So my hope is that next year in Marrakesh, we'll make announcements. We'll make announcements of maybe dozens of gigawatts of projects, that's one thing, but we'll make announcements of the launch of a pipeline. So let's hope for the best. Let's hope for the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I won't ask you any question. I think we have to talk sometimes in the coming weeks in my office. Okay? So let's now invite Madame Sarah Edmondson, Regional Head Markets and Strategic Partnership, Fortescue Future Industry Italy. Madame Edmondson is not with us today, so we will contact her and we will communicate with her through by remote.
And that is correct. In fact, I'm very sad that I'm not with you this evening. Just checking to make sure you can hear me and hopefully see me as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, excellent. Because we had some technical issues, as that kind of always is the case. Maybe I'll just take 1 minute to introduce myself real quickly, and also a little bit about Fortescue, the company that I represent. So, and it's interesting because in just hearing Terry speak, without purposely coordinating, we're actually very, we have some very similar thoughts on things. So Fortescue is actually a major mining company. We are the 4th largest iron ore producer globally. And we embarked on a mission several years ago to completely decarbonize our mining operations. So it's a bit unusual to see a very large green hydrogen, green ammonia developer with, you know, the roots of a major mining company. But ultimately, the origin of that was our desire to eliminate our own carbon footprint. And we had gone out to the market and, you know, very ambitiously tried to secure the zero emissions technologies and the green fuels needed to power those zero emissions technologies in order to meet the ambitious climate targets that we wanted to set for ourselves. And unfortunately, the market was very disappointing. And we realized that if we wanted to do something about our carbon footprint, we needed to take the initiative ourselves. So about 3 years ago, and I'm very blessed because I was kind of part of that initial mission, about 3 years ago, we started our journey to become a global green hydrogen, green ammonia, green derivative producer. And I have spent the last 3 years focusing really on the European continent and building our customer base. So kind of similar to what Terry was just saying, you know, without the customer's voice, it is really difficult to come up with the complete solutions. And to that end, I mean, I think to answer really, or to just talk on the subject of what are the key considerations when we're looking at trade corridors, I think that there's quite a few different perspectives that we'd need to overlay to really understand how we would envisage this green energy infrastructure for a net zero future, how that might play out. And I would argue that safety, which is not going to be surprising to anybody, safety is always going to be a major issue. And I think the social license to operate. And there are a lot of ammonia storage facilities that are already existing in Europe. And I think that if you speak to a lot of the owners of those ammonia storage facilities that are looking to expand, they're actually finding it not as easy as they would have expected. And that is because of the social license to operate. So I think the Port of Rotterdam had presented earlier, they're doing a phenomenal job on the stakeholder engagement side, but I would bet that they would also say it's a process and it's going to take a lot of involvement. But leaving the safety element aside, I think that what Terry kind of really brought home, which to me is very true in the conversations we're having with customers, is that inevitably there's a question around affordability. There's a question around security of supply. And ultimately, the pipeline solution is what provides customers and industry in Europe that security of supply, as well as that affordability element, on the basis that the other trade routes will always be a lot more expensive, not only because of the additional transportation costs around, for example, shipping, but also on the basis that you're also having to use a hydrogen carrier and in many instances converting that back. So the overall efficiency of that trade route is going to be have, let's say, further struggles due to that. That said, I would say that within the last 12 to 18 months, because of the geopolitical situation that we're living, energy security is a major issue. And when we saw indeed that, you know, the European Commission did ramp up significantly from 10 to 20 million tons, the overall ambition for green hydrogen or clean hydrogen in Europe, it was still very much also around an energy security package. So I would argue that there is very much a place for trade routes through maritime, through shipping effectively. Again, though, going back to that social license to operate, whether they will reach the size and scale that maybe is currently envisaged is going to be challenging to see. But I would argue that there certainly is a place for that. And we do see that right now, just in ammonia cracking, for example, according to my knowledge, there's about 10 different development projects that are underway, of which I think 8 have a special European status that is of common European interest. So there's certainly a lot of political goodwill to see those import terminals combined with ammonia cracking capabilities to see those effectively come to fruition. I think the last thing that maybe I would just want to drive home is, as we're trying to think through these trade routes, inevitably there's a carbon budget. And we're seeing with climate change, North Africa obviously being very recently impacted, but it's happening all over the world. We need to really understand the carbon footprint of the different trade routes. And inevitably, hands down, pipelines are virtually carbon neutral. And so I think that overall, as we see the ramp up, this is going to be an issue that will play over and over again. And that's why I think that the pipelines, quite similarly as we even saw it in the natural gas space, pipelines effectively are always going to be the most attractive to the policymakers. Again, not just because of the costs, but even because for the carbon budget. So just in speaking with customers over the course of the last 3 years, affordability is an absolutely major issue with the geopolitics where they are and the ensuing energy crisis that Europe's been living. We have seen significant demand destruction, and the jury's still out, but I would argue that that demand destruction is now complete. And so there has been a little bit of deindustrialization that's happened with Europe because of that. And if we don't try and ensure that the new fuels, the green fuels, are also delivered in an affordable way by pipeline, it's going to always be a hurdle, I think, that industry will not end up being able to jump. So that affordability issue is also going to be absolutely critical to making sure that this is a success. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. While we lost Sarah, please.
No, I'm here.
Okay, so Sarah, your development says that we have to focus, or the key solution for the transportation is the pipeline, and the same for Thierry. But today we heard many solutions. We heard about ammonia. We heard about liquefied hydrogen.
Yeah.
But why make you say that the pipeline is the key solution? And maybe I will ask the same later to Thierry.
I think that's such a good question because right now it does seem that everyone's talking about ammonia. And actually our first projects at Fortescue are green ammonia. So I think that one, in order to really think it through, needs to put on a temporal lens. The phase 1 build out, while the pipelines need to get built, in my view, is going to be an ammonia play. And again, we do see, I mean, there are the ammonia crackers that are getting built. There are the import terminals that, are working very diligently to try and expand capacity and make sure that there's going to be space for the green ammonia molecules that are coming from different parts of the world. I think that it's just a first glimpse, though, of a transition, but long term, when we look, or we should say maybe medium to long term, it's going to be pipeline because of that affordability element and because of the carbon footprint element.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Maybe you can develop more, Thierry.
There's nothing faster than a pipeline. The pipeline that you see, the pipeline project by Enagas, 3,000 kilometers, 6 billion euros, will be invested over the next 6 years. This is going to happen in 6 years. Why? Because in the end, this is a very mature technology. There are thousands of kilometers of existing hydrogen pipelines around the world. They're safe, they're working fine. Now, some people want to say LOHC, wonderful. You know, how many places are you? Oops, not that many. Ammonia, and it was said by Sarah, ammonia, the minute you have ammonia, you will have an accident, and then 50 people will die, and then 100 people. You know what? And we'll stop. So in the end, the capacity of our societies to incur untested technologies or oversized risk is very limited. This is the lowest risk. Now it's 20 times cheaper than ammonia. Moving hydrogen is 15 cents. Moving ammonia from Morocco to Europe is 15 cents per kilogram, period, 15 cents. Moving ammonia is 20 times more, it's 3 euros, because if you transform the hydrogen into ammonia and crack it back in the port of Rotterdam, it costs you 3 euros. So even if you produce super cheap hydrogen here and then move it, then land it in the port of Rotterdam, it's 4 or 5 euros. It won't find any customer. Ultimately, it's about customers. So this is where business should start from, and then finance. Who's going to find money for 20, 30-year financing? Who's going to sign a 30, 20-year agreement to buy ammonia? Nobody. Nobody will buy. Who's signing today long-term contracts for fossil fuels? Nobody. Who will sign contract, 20-year contract? I know, my customers. They're signing right now. We're finalizing negotiations for hundreds of thousands of tons for 20-year contracts for these things, which will back financing. Last word, I'd just like to mention that we are not doing this alone here at HyDeal. I want to salute our partners, Gaia Energy, who is in the room. Gaia is an incredible team of entrepreneurs rounded here. One of the things I want to say is not just about molecules, etc. It's about people. And what I want to say is that Morocco has an incredible pool of talent, and that this is a unique opportunity to leverage on that pool of talent.
Thank you very much. You are already in my agenda for the next weeks. I salute you. Excellent. Sarah, I think we will finish here. Maybe we will start and give the floor to Mr. Berer. Mr. Berer is a business development and, Mr. Berer is the business development and from Technip Energy, and I will leave him the floor, please.
Thank you very much. So let me give the technical side of that discussion and give you also the historical background of Technip on the molecule of hydrogen and what we are doing today in terms of developing green hydrogen, green ammonia too, projects and how we are trying to make it as cost effective as possible. So I don't know if my presentation is ready. If you can just put the presentation, please. So I'll give you a little bit of a background of Technip Energies, what we do, what we are doing today in the green hydrogen and the energy transition in general, and how we are actually seeing the market today in terms of projects as they are developing, as we are developing with our clients. It's mainly, I would say, an integrator, what we call an integrator approach. So it includes the production itself, as well as the transportation of hydrogen to the end user. So what is Technip Energies? Technip Energies is our 15,000 very passionate women and men working on energy. We have a background of hydrocarbon, so we are all well known in the oil and gas sector. We know the molecule of hydrogen, and I will tell you why, but we also know LNG, refinery, and all that great stuff. Nevertheless, today we are, and you will see it also in my presentation, we're moving forward into the energy transition. taking a lot of very large strides with our clients, but also developing our own products and solutions that could be implemented in the different domain. So in terms of, I would say, the energy transition, how are we doing? So today in the revenues of 7 billion that you saw of last year, 1 billion was in the energy transition. So it's actually beginning to be a big chunk of our business. And we're doing this following. We're working on the carbon capture, sector. So this is a sector on which we are very active. We have an alliance with Shell on the technology called Consolve, which we are deploying mainly in Europe today. That's where the market, okay? And in the portfolio of project that we have today more than 30 million tons per annum of carbon captured in our portfolio of projects. In the, I would say, clean H2 and Power-to-X, we have more than 3 gigawatts of ongoing projects, and that's mean FEED and pre-EPC and even EPC projects. So it's a very active domain, and we're very active all over the world. And we're looking forward to be also very active in Morocco once these big projects are popping up. Sustainable fuels, so this is the e-fuel side. This is also coming from our historical involvement with the Sasol technology, the Fischer-Tropsch technology, which are today very suitable to developing the e-fuel side. And I shouldn't forget the floating offshore wind, on which we have more than 4 gigawatts of ongoing feasibility and I would say feed stage projects all over the world. We have actually our own product that we are commercializing. So in terms of the why hydrogen in Technip, so hydrogen is a very long and passionate story for Technip. If probably people in this room don't know, but we have more than 275 references in hydrogen, and this is coming from the reformer-based, the gray hydrogen, reformer-based technology. We have that technology, it is our own, and we have more than 275 references with units that are mainly in refinery and petrochemical side. Nevertheless, through this history and historical background, we know what is the molecule of hydrogen, and we know how to produce it, and we know how to transform it, and we know how to safely, of course, we have to safely doing all of that. In the green hydrogen side, this is, of course, it's a new business for us. Nevertheless, in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years, our portfolio of project has actually grown to more than 70 projects that are going from, I would say, pre-feasibility, feasibility, and pre-feed, feed, and even EPC. So what are we doing in the next phase with Technip Energies? This is an announcement that happened, I would say, 3 months ago. Technip Energies and John Cockerill, we are moving together. We have decided to create a JV company that will be called Rely. It's not yet official. It's not an entity yet. Nevertheless, we know that once we have all the approvals, it will be created, and you should be hearing of it in November. But the idea is really to join forces to reduce the cost of producing hydrogen. So this is actually our main objectives: is affordability, is making it economically feasible for our clients. So we'll be working with our friends in John Cockerill, as well as developing an innovation platform for the application. So this is very important in the overall scheme of things for us. And we'll be also offering asset lifecycle services. That's mean operation and maintenance for green hydrogen production. So I think through the day you have seen several versions of this slide, but at the end, what we are here showing is the overall cycle that we saw. I mean, from all day long, which means we have here the renewable production. We have I have indicated the Inno 15, which is our own floating offshore wind technology and product, with the green hydrogen side, and then of course the transportation. So the idea is really to make the green hydrogen as low as possible, and this is where we need to be working closely with the OEMs as well as in terms of renewable cost. And this is what we are doing today. Nevertheless, we are also along the chain. We're producing ammonia. We can actually we design ammonia units. We have an alliance with Topsoe. So Topsoe is a very long standing partner of us, as well as I said, the e-fuel side of the green fuels. So at the end of the day, what we are doing in Technip is we are trying to make the project as economically viable as possible in order to bring it from the producing place to the end user. In terms of I would say profile of projects as we are seeing them today, we are seeing industrial scale projects which are actually mainly driven by Europe, which is mainly in the refineries. We saw the Port of Notre Dame in their presentation showing a few green hydrogen production units to feed the existing refinery. So these are already very easy and low-hanging fruit in terms of uptake. The refineries are going to be buying this green hydrogen very easily to decarbonize a portion of their production. But also we're seeing a lot of, I would say, giga scale projects all over the world that are today, our concern is really on the supply chain side of things. So we know that, I mean, if we want to develop all of these mega gigawatt, I don't know how to put the how to name them, but if we want to develop all of this gigawatt production, we need a lot of electrolyzers, which are today not yet in the market. So we're trying to make that junction where the technical side of the projects, and hopefully we will be arriving to the dream of Thierry and of course of FFI, and helping them bringing that molecule from the production side to the end user. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tariq. And for sure, we all know Technip Energy now, Technip Energy. And we know what you can do, you know the size of the project you work on. But to come back to the subject of this panel, what a company like Technip Energy can do in order to build this way of transportation of hydrogen in a safe way. The point is that today we heard a lot about the risk of the hydrogen in the pipeline or in other technology for transportation, but what can Technip Energy can bring to help avoiding such issues?
Okay, thank you very much. So Technip Energies will probably approach this issue from a traditional oil and gas aspect. As it has been said before, I mean, moving molecules and gas from one place to another has been done before. I will not talk about the geotechnical side of it. I will not talk about the, I would say, the diversity of supply side of it. And nevertheless, from a technical, purely technical point of view, it comes down to safety issues. So today, hydrogen, we know it. We know its risk, but it's still, I mean, it's on a very small scale of things. So as you know, the risk is always a probability for time consequences. So once we have a lot of hydrogen that are moving, we need also to take that into account. And it is just by the quantum of the production, we might be, I mean, we need to look at the probability and take that from a safety point of view. Nevertheless, I mean, a molecule of hydrogen is not neutral. It has its own risks that needs to be mitigated through good technical approach. And of course, at the end of the day, the engineering of it. It all comes to engineering.
Thank you very much, Tarek, for those insights. Before closing the panel, I would like to thank all of you for having attended this panel. I would like normally not introduce me. I was supposed to do it at the beginning of the panel, but I will do it now. I'm Mohamed Benzaria. I'm the director of the midstream or infrastructure division of ONIM. And by this, I'm also the director of the Maghreb Europe gas pipeline that cross Morocco to connect Africa to Spain. This pipeline, as you know, is today used to import gas from the international market by LNG, regasified in Spain and supplied to Morocco to feed two power plants of Tahaddart and Ain Bni Matar. I'm also the director for Morocco of the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline. And that's why when I listen what you are saying about the development of the transportation of hydrogen by pipeline, I'm really happy to be part of this story. And I hope that we will try to, let's say, to use synergies between projects. And for example, for the pipeline you are talking about, you have to know that in the Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline, as I presented at the beginning, we are designing the right-of-way corridor large enough in order to avoid any nightmare when you will have to install the pipeline for hydrogen. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.